look out. No one's going to stop her, will they? Emma Tonegano, the next generation has arrived. Round getting more. And the Roosters are the NRLW premiers.
Hello and welcome to a special semi-finals edition of the NRLWrap. We have a big show coming up. We're going to pick a possible Jillaroos squad. We've got Fergo's finest as well, taking a look at some of the best tries from an incredible weekend. As always, we've got Roos Team of the Week, and of course, we'll look forward to the blockbuster semis on the weekend. But Ruan Sims and Alana Ferguson, how good was the triple header at Central Coast Stadium? What was your key takeaway from the weekend?
Oh, that we had to pack the sunscreen.
It felt like the middle of summer, didn't it?
It was so good. No, it was awesome having the triple header. An incredible 3 games, especially to see where the sides were at coming up against one another. But yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it was good to see so many people turn out on the Central Coast. Great crowd, beautiful weather, perfect football weather. The football lived up to the billing, and that was really exciting. I love that part of it. But yeah, it was a great afternoon for footy, and I think everybody who went there looked like they just really enjoyed themselves.
So much to talk about from the weekend. So let's get stuck into the Hattrick, the 3 headlines that dominated round 5 of the NRLW. And first off, we have to talk about the Broncos. They won the first 3 premierships in the NRLW, made the semis last year, but for the first time ever, Roo, they have missed the finals. And Brigginshaw, their captain, broke down in the press conference after the match. We could see how much it meant. Is it just a matter of the rest of the competition are slowly starting to catch up?
Well, they got off to such a cracking start. 3 years they were at the top of the game, and they deserved it, they earned it, they played really great football, and I just think the competition is really starting to level out. We're starting to see teams come in that are getting players from lots of different walks of life. They're not just straight from a rugby league background, they're coming from other sports. And at the same time, like I had tipped the Eels to win that game, not because I thought the Broncos weren't going to turn up and play, but it was just because, you know, sometimes you just get a feeling, and the Eels were ready to roll. They were ready to play that game. You can see how much it meant to the Bronx afterwards. You could see how devastated they were, and that's completely understandable that there's so much emotion tied in with it, because they put everything into this game. They leave nothing in the tank. They leave nothing. They leave it all out on the field. So I understand there's plenty of emotion involved, but it just means that the competition is getting stronger, which is a positive.
Is that a good thing, do you think, for the competition?
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. It's great. I think the Broncos were the club that really set the standard and the professionalism for the women's game when it came onto the scene. And it's a pretty fair point saying that other clubs are catching up, because you can even see like the professional coaching that's going in, the standards that they're able to be surrounded in and train in. But yeah, nothing but positives for how not only the Broncos are going, but how the rest of the sides are tracking. It's awesome.
Well, the Roosters won the premiership last year, undefeated so far in 2022. Roo, do you think we should start engraving the Roosters on this year's premiership trophy?
I think that's a bit premature because they only won by 2 points against the Knights last week. The Knights really turned up to play. So not that, I'm not saying that the Roosters aren't playing great footy, because they are, but you just never know. Once you get into finals, it's the old cliche. The game, you basically hit the reset and you start again, because everybody turns up hungry and you just never know what's going to happen. Injuries can happen on the day. Anything can pop up. But yeah, I think the Roosters have put themselves in the box seat, and they deserve the minor premiership, and they deserve to be the front runners.
Alana, do you think this has been the best regular season we have ever had?
Yeah, without a doubt. I think all of the NRLW sides have really aimed up. I think they've been producing different styles of football. Like even that point on the Roosters, like they're not winning week in, week out and doing the same thing over and over again. They're recreating their options, and given what the opposition are doing, and probably during their video through the week, know who they're targeting and how they need to play. So I think we're seeing that from all sides. I don't think there's a single side in the competition that finished off worse from where they started. They're building something special at each and every club. And I mean, you can see the Eels were likely to get bottom place on the ladder, and they've now made the finals. Like that goes to show how strong the competition is.
And how it can turn on a dime.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's awesome. It's great.
All right, well, 5 rounds done and dusted. So, Roo, let's take us through your team of the week for round 5.
Yeah, this was hard to pick this week because there were a number of standouts. I thought Ash Quinlan for the Eels was huge. She came up with some brilliant plays. Jessie Southwell was really strong again in that 7. Torfa and Cherrington for the Eels, they set the platform, they set that standard, they got them going forward, as did Caitlin Johnston up the front. But the two I want to focus on, Jess Surgis and Samaima Torfa, I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Alana, I feel like this is Jess's best game. Yep. It's the best I've seen her play this year in this particular NRLW competition. And I think that, especially when Izzy Kelly went off for 10 minutes, she stood up and just took those extra carries. She took the extra metres. She showed hunger. She was chasing everything. She was putting herself in a position to make a play at the football. So she was definitely, I thought she was a standout. I
think Jess is one of those players as well that's taken her game to another level, given the coaching staff. Like, game awareness is through the roof. And you're right, when Izzy went off, the extra run meters out of their own half, like those really, the hard carries, like that was everything for their side. Yeah,
and then the second one was Samaima Torfa. We talk about her every week, and I think sometimes she's not valued as strongly as I think she deserves to be, because we just expect this kind of workload out of her week on week. But to have two middle forwards run for over 200 metres in a game of football is huge. She also got injured in that tackle, stayed on the field and continued to play. She just loves her footy. She loves turning up for her teammates, and so they're my two standouts this week.
Do you feel privileged that you got to play with a player like Mime? So for me, when you were saying, I feel like we speak about it all the time. Like, we know what she does at training. We know how she battles through. Like, there wouldn't be a game where she wasn't carrying 3 or 4 injuries into it, because she leaves everything on the line. But it's so hard to put into words how incredible and inspiring of a player Mimes is. Yeah, and when she started, I was finishing up. So to be part of her journey, I think, is really special, and to be part of a lot of the girls out there, part of their journey is very special. And Mimes is just a workhorse. She just loves it. The more work you throw at her, the more she thrives. So, it's about finding that sweet spot for her where you get the best out of her without overutilising her.
She's obviously an incredible leader, because your post-match interview with her was great too, the passion and the emotion. So
she's so inspiring, that woman. She's incredible.
It's what we love to see. So she can score tries, but so too can plenty of the others in the competition. So it's time for Fergo's finest, the best tries from the week, or try. You can pick as many as you like. What stood out from the weekend? Yeah,
I've just chipped one in this week. We've got a full board. So we've got 8 already up there. So someone has to drop off. But this ball from Vani Politi was mind-blowing. Like, such a brilliant cutout pass. She did 2 very similar to set up Madison Bartlett, but that catch pass with the defender right in her face was like that's so special, to be able to do that on the run and execute it, to be able to get those points.
So where does she go in the order then?
So
pretty jam-packed.
Yeah, it is pretty jam-packed. How very good. Tegan Berry's intercept is going to come out of the 8. And then I think I'm going to put this up to number 6. So we'll slide these two down. But, yeah, that's brilliant footy. Bartlett getting the try, but Vani Politi's ball was sensational.
Well done,
She's up
Bartlett.
at number 6.
One more game, one more, obviously, round. So next week we will do it once again, and we'll see if any of those top ones can get knocked off. We've had some
pretty good ones up there. Some pretty sick tries.
Right, well, you can have your work cut out for you over the next few weeks, that is for sure.
Keep them coming.
Yeah. We spoke about the Broncos a little bit earlier, and the fact that they missed out on the finals and how much it meant to them, but despite the fact it was a disappointing season, we saw one of the most magical moments of the year on the weekend from Ali Brigginshaw.
The entertainers, the Broncos.
Looking for touch. Chapman is still going towards the halfway line. That was spectacular.
What a play. Chapman and Brigginshaw.
Sala gets a pass away. Through the hands, here's Amber Hall. Amber Hall finds Emily Bass. Last play, Aiken with a grubber kick from Brigginshaw. Ali Brigginshaw loves that one. Locked up.
But Ali Brigginshaw, the woman there to stand up in a big moment. Finals are on the line here. Big players stand up. Well done, Ali Brigginshaw.
What a set.
What a game.
Ali Brigginshaw, you can watch that over and over again. What an incredible role model she has been for the women's competition. But we promised you we would give a potential Jillaroos squad, so we are going to deliver. Ru, how about I start with you and you can pick the forwards for the Jillaroos squad.
Yeah. Just for everyone, this is our
This
isn't coming from, and this is just on form at the moment, what I'm seeing right now. So I've picked Millie and Mima up front. With Keely Davis in that 9. I think her ball playing and then her ability to slip into lock really plays in, especially with her kicking game. But Apps and Kernick on the edge, and I'm giving my debut jersey to Keely Joseph.
Yeah, love that.
I think she has been huge, and then that way, having Keely Joseph there means we have Mima on the field at the same time as Millie. So, yeah, and then obviously Olivia Kernick, for me, she has been massive. Not just for the Roosters, she was huge in Origin, had her in my country team earlier in the year as well, and I just love what she brings to the game. Her footwork, she has that outline. I don't know if we saw much of that, but you see the way she runs an outline with people knowing what she's going to do, and she still pulls it off. She's got such good footwork for such a big body. So, yeah, so those two are getting my debut jerseys for the Jillaroos, and that's what my current standing squad. Yes. I'm saying current because anything in it, there's so many good players. So many good players.
I'm sure on the weekend and in the grand final as well, plenty of those girls will be putting their hand up for selection as well. But Alana, as it stands this week, who would be in your back line?
Yeah, I think that's actually a really important point, because when you're picking, no, but truly, when you're picking an Australian side to play at the World Cup, you want those big name players that are going to stand up in the most important matches. So, and a lot of these are such key positions. Anyway, so at fullback, there's a few pretty highly contested positions here as well. I've gone with Tamika Upton at fullback. On the wings, Jamie Chapman and Emma Tonagato, who we've seen. Tono's been playing at fullback for the Dragons, but I just think she needs a starting spot, and she'd do so much damage in that back three regardless. Chapo getting her debut. The centres, the Roosters pairing, couldn't take either of those out, Jess Surgis and Isabel Kelly. And then in the halves, Taryn Aiken, I just thought she's been great. Yeah, she's been carving. Yeah, takes the line on so well, and I really think she'd complement the way that Jessie Southwell plays. I've gone with a bit of a young gun in the number 7 jersey, but I think for the Jillaroos, it's all about building and moving forward, and she's the future. A couple of players that I wanted to mention that I didn't name in the starting side were Ali Brigginshaw, who we saw just kick, and then also Sammy Bremner. I think Ali would be a great player to have in that World Cup squad to be able to see Jessie Southwell through and almost help guide her in those bigger moments and still get game time. And then Sam Bremner, same thing. It's very hard to keep her out of the side. I think Tamika Upton, for me, is the most in-form and best option at fullback, but I'd have Sammy there in the squad. She can play anywhere in the back three. Yeah. We haven't actually even seen her on the wing, but I think she'd be a great winger.
Yeah, absolutely. She can also slot into the half role, the number 6, if you need her. I think also with Ali, she can slip into that lock position too. It.
So very versatile.
I think when you are building, obviously we're just going by a team and what we see 1 to 13, but when you're thinking about that, then you're looking at Destiny Brill and Quincy Dodd also for those bench positions. Caitlin Johnston deserves a look. Yeah, I think she deserves to be on that bench position. She's been massive. And then Bremner. I had Bremner and Clydesdale as well, because I think Clydesdale, Yaz has that ability to be an outside back. She can be a second row when you need her. I think if you really gave it a push, she could prop into that 13 position. So I think that's, when you build, we're talking about a squad at the moment, but the 1 to 13 was as you saw, but if we're building a squad, I think Alana and I'd be here for hours.
Ru, would you also pick Jessie Southwell at 7, the teen sensation?
In current form, she's been probably the best number 7 in the competition. So
well, the other one's Racine McGregor, who won't be lining up. She's a Kiwi, so she won't be playing for the Jillaroos. So I think that's where, for me, she's probably the most in-form 7 at the moment. But they're tit for tat, they're pretty close, and Jessie's obviously going to be playing for Australia.
And hot on Jessie's heels is Pearson.
Yeah.
So I think they're the other ones that
I'd love to see her take the line on a little bit more.
It's
but
more her game management.
She's up there.
Yeah, her game management, I think, is, and especially when under pressure at Origin, we've seen her tried and tested, and I really like the way she controlled the pack at Origin. So obviously when you get into big games, that's what you need. But the best thing with a World Cup, you take an extended squad, you have the ability to trial different positions and different combinations, and that's where you find out what works for you.
Well, let's get stuck into two absolutely cracking semi-finals on the weekend. First off, it is the Knights and the Dragons. And taking a look at the team list, how good is that for the Knights? Tamika Upton returns there at fullback. The Dragons rested a few on the weekend, but they get Kezzy Apps and Paige McGregor in that lineup as well. Alana, you picked Jessie Southwell in your potential Jillaroos squad, so this is a game where we can really see her stand up.
Yeah, for sure. The thing I've loved about Jessie is the way that she's settled into this side. She's so new to coming back over to rugby league, but I thought the game that we just saw her play on the weekend, she took so much more control of this team. She's always been a threat. It's great to see her take the line on. She's got a really strong kicking game, but I thought the way she really owned that number 7 jersey, and I had a little bit of chat to her as well. I think Tamika Upton being out and having her experience gone from that side on the weekend did her game so many favours. I thought it was really great. So she's building, but for me, she's got the passing game, she's got the running game, she's nailed the kicking game, and she's building each performance. So that's scary for me.
And how good will it be to have Paige McGregor back?
Paige McGregor, Kezzy Apps. Kez was a massive out for them on the weekend, obviously being rested. She's played plenty of footy this year and deserves that time off. I think having her in there on that second row, she's the best second rower in the competition at the moment, easily for me. She has been killing it. So to have her back out there, I think that's a massive in for the Dragons. If the Dragons are to win, it has to be off the back of Davis and Pearson. I think they're the two that really need to take control. Obviously, middle forwards have to set the platform for them to be able to do that. But if you give Keely Davis really good possession close to the line, she's got an astute kicking game, she finds the ground really well, and she brings her forwards onto the ball. The flip side is, when you look at the pack for the Knights, they have been outstanding. Millie and Caitlin have been huge. And then when you look at their interchange, Munzelman, when she comes on, changes the complexion of the game immediately. Yeah. And Taylor Predabon, for me, has been really strong when she comes onto the field for the Knights. So she's finding a lot of go forward, finds her front. And Mackenzie Wheel has been one...
She's one of your favourites. Every time you talk about her, your face lights up.
She has been a real find. Like, she's been such a good find, and I just love it. It seems to me she's got the work ethic, and she just loves the rough stuff. She just gets involved. So, yeah, I've tipped the Knights, but, oh, geez, it's a close one. I went Dragons, Knights, and, yeah, I flipped a coin.
It's one that could go either way, but our second match, the Roosters naturally go in as overwhelming favourites for this one, up against the Eels, who just snuck into the semi-finals. Sammy Bremner returns after being rested last week, so she'll line up there at fullback for the Roosters. And the Eels are unchanged from that side that got the win over the Broncos on the weekend. Roo, we always speak about Racey McGregor and how crucial she has been, but her halves partner, Zahara Tamara, also has had an incredible season.
She absolutely has, and I think the two of them have worked in tandem beautifully for the Roosters, and I think that's something that plays into the Roosters' favour. Their entire spine, for me, has been a standout. Head and shoulders, the best spine of the competition, and you can see. And it's not because, you know, they just trot out the same stuff the way Alana spoke about earlier in the show. They don't. They're finding different ways to get to the try line. They're finding different ways of getting to field position. They're throwing their trick shots, and everyone knows the trick shots are coming, but you still got to stop them, and they're not stopping them. So that, to me, I think that's why I think the Roosters are going to come away with it, because they just got more than one way to win in the bag.
And for the Eels, Tiana Penatani, Alana, how crucial is her big game experience? She's played Origin before, and she's one of those players that on the big stage, they'll be looking at her, won't they, to stand up in the big moments.
Yeah, for sure. All of the leaders out there, and I think we saw a great response when Tiana actually left the field quite early on the weekend, and the response from the Eels was tremendous. But to be able to have her on the field, that's even better. Yeah. I think the key for the Eels in this one is to start hard and fast. They were up for the fight. They're a side that's been building. We've been positive about the ways we've been speaking about the Eels, but it's just like they're not there yet. Well, on the weekend, they were there. They got the game to 16-all, and they found a way to win, and I think that's enormous, and that's something they'll have to take into this game. But, yeah, when you look at players like Tiana, she not only sets the standard, and gets their set started when their forwards are tired, she also converts those opportunities into points as well. So she's a leader in more ways than one.
And her and Gail Broughton together, I think they're a really classy act.
Yeah.
And then you add in the experience of Foliaki as well on an edge. She's someone that you can set your platform off as well. So, and again, Torfa. So
I don't think they will, but the Roosters cannot take this Eels side lightly.
And I don't think they will.
No, I don't think so.
I think
it'll be a great match. It'll be one that everyone will be surprised of the quality of this game when these two sides meet in this way.
Well, it's a great weekend because not only do we have the two NRLW semi-finals with that coverage beginning from 2 p.m, but following those, coverage from 5:30 on Gem, we have the Prime Minister's 13. Obviously, that side there, the Aussies dominated by Titans and Broncos, but just another excellent opportunity for women in our game to be able to put on a show and just display how far the game has come.
And it's an opportunity for the Orchids to be on the big stage, and they deserve to be. I mean, Elsie Albert is probably the most well-known product out of PNG in the women's game, and I reckon she'll be cheering her compatriots on. And yeah, I think this is going to be a really good game. You know, when you look at some of the players that they've selected in the PM's 13, there's some great ones. Sophie Hollyman's another one that I've actually thought has had a really good season. That is probably an unknown name in the women's game at the moment, but not for long with the way she's been playing. So yeah, it's I think this is going to be a really great game, and yeah, a good opportunity to celebrate Women's Rugby League in an international space.
All right, let's get our tips for the semi-finals then. Roo, first off, who do you have?
Well, you heard me. I flipped and flopped on the Dragons.
Now you've got to stick with it.
So I've tipped the Knights.
Okay.
I wrote the Knights in ink, so I have to stay with the Knights. Yeah. And then I've gone for the Roosters.
Okay, Roosters, Knights, and Alana, you've gone for?
Yeah, I'm going Roosters, Knights. Knights for me, I think when I look at the Dragons and the Knights, the entire competition, it's been those two butting heads to see who can make the grand final. The Roosters have always been the standard, but the Knights, I just think they've got the ability, or they've shown me anyway, the ability to create on the go. Whereas I think the Dragons' strength and when they look most dangerous is off set piece and plays that have almost been constructed. I think they execute really well. They've got great players, but the instinctive game of the Knights, I also think they haven't shown us everything yet, which most teams shouldn't have, really. They should have footy up their sleeve, but yeah, I don't know. I reckon we're going to see a blinder from Jessie Southwell and her creativity in this game, alongside her kicking game. She'll manage the game to be in good territory. But yeah, it's all about just shutting down the set plays of the Dragons, and I reckon the Knights will have it in the bag. Yeah,
and I like the interchange of the Knights too. I like the way Ron Griffiths uses his interchange. I think he's really smart about it. What I've noticed, he only uses a small number of interchanges in the first sort of 50-odd minutes, and then at the back end of the game, he just rotates Caitlin Johnston, Taylor Predabon, Millie Boyle. He just rotates them through, gives them 7-8 minutes and just wants the best out of them for that. I think it's a really smart way of doing it. So, yeah, that's why I've gone with the Knights.
Well, I went with Roosters Dragons only because I'm 1 point behind.
Are you still 1 point behind? I was trying to figure it out
so then
after the weekend.
If the Dragons do win, we'll be even.
You should have gone the Eels, mate, and blitzed it.
Yeah. Okay, that's a...
Oh, the Roosters have done it.
Okay.
The Roosters
That's true.
We did.
I wasn't that brave. But anyway, we'll see how
neither. No, neither.
All right, looking forward to a big weekend at Suncorp Stadium. It's going to be an absolute cracker, so we'll see you both there. And we'll see everyone next week for our special grand final edition of the NRLWrap right here on your home of rugby league, Nine's Wide World of Sports.